Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, and then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm just sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I left my home in Georgia, headed for the Frisco Bay, 'cause I've had nothing to live for, and look like nothing's gonna come my way. So I'm just gonna sit on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. Look like nothing's gonna change, everything still remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll remain the same. Listen, sitting here resting my bones, and this loneliness won't leave me alone. Listen, 2,000 miles I roam just to make this dock my home. Now I'm just gonna sit at the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll away. Ooh, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time.
We gather today because that's what people do. Since the beginning of time, it's been part of the human condition that we stop and acknowledge the death of someone, to celebrate a life well lived, and to figure out what that loss means to those left behind. To provide a sacred space for the pain and grief, and to catch our breath and begin the journey toward reconstructing a new reality. When a man who lived a full life, who embraced every adventure that came to him, and who did his best to figure out where he is needed takes him too soon, the need for a safe gathering of those who cared for him is even more necessary. Welcome. My name is Mike Rippey, and it is both my honor and my privilege to be the celebrant as we celebrate Tyler today. We're here for you, for his family. In our time together, we will hear the stories of Tyler's life and share his love of music, and most important, help his family, his fellow journeyers in their loss. Let us begin by taking a deep breath to center our thoughts and brush away the cares of the day. One of Tyler's favorite guitarists was the blues legend Robert Johnson, who's actually known as a person who invented the style of rock and roll guitar playing. One of Tyler's favorite songs was the Crossroad Blues, and we'll sit and listen to that now.
God believe to my soul now. Oh, Bobby, back it down. You can run. Tell my friend Willie Brown. You can run. Tell my friend Willie Brown. And I got to cross the bridge, my Lord. Baby, I'm sinking down. And I went to the crossroad, mama. I looked east and west. I went to the crossroad, baby. I looked east and west. Lord, I didn't have no sweet woman. Ooh, baby, in my district.
As we're sitting here, I think everybody has a copy of Tyler's obituary. At the end of life, most all of us have an obituary. But Tyler was so much more than what that obituary states. I had the opportunity the other day, I met with Emily and Kieran, Rory and Susan, and we talked about Tyler. Talked about Tyler's growing up, Tyler becoming a family man, a father, a very loving father. Tyler becoming a very loving son when his father passed away. And in talking to Susan, we were talking, I said, so tell me about Tyler as a kid. And she just looked at me and said, well, he was a handful, as most kids are. And the more we talked about it, she told me about this incredibly intelligent young man whose curiosity maybe from time to time got a little overdone. There was one story she told about him as a young man, and it involves a porch railing and a can of Crisco shortening. He may have tried to stick his head through the porch railing but couldn't get it out. Another story she told me about was Tyler had a rabbit. He was an animal lover. And he kept the rabbit in his bedroom and went in there one time, and the room had the carpet of the day, which some of us are old enough to remember shag carpeting. Well, it was green shag carpeting. So Tyler assumed the rabbit took it to be blades of grass. Then there were just so many fun Tyler things, I gotta tell you. There was a story about him older. This is back in the day when folks had window air conditioners. I don't know how many of us remember those, but Tyler thought it would be really interesting to create a snowstorm in the house. So he took, I believe it was baking powder, and threw it up in front of the air conditioner and created the famous Kelly blizzard of whatever year it was inside of the home. As he got older, his curiosity never stopped. He was well known around high school. He was in what they called apple classes, which would be like STEM classes are today. And he excelled as a student, very, very bright young man. However, his teacher couldn't give him an A. And his parents wondered why, and his teacher was like, well, he's very smart, does very well on his tests, but he never hands his homework in, which kind of caused that little issue. As he got older, he learned how to drive. There's a story, I don't know if many of you know, about Tyler backing the T-Bird into the lake and was terrified his father was going to find out, but Susan, being the good mother she is, went and had that thing towed out, cleaned up, and put away before anybody knew it. And Mr. Kelly never found out. So that was Tyler growing up. He was involved in photography as a child. He worked on the school yearbook and the school papers. There was everything he did From the time he was a small child, he never did anything in halves. He was all in all the time. And as he grew up, became a teenager, he actually made it through that, which is a good thing. And then in going to school, went to tech school, but became very ingrained in the computer sciences and how to make things better and make computers better and make things work better. He was always busy trying to make things better. If it was broke, he was your go-to guy to fix it. That was Tyler. That was who he was. He was at a tribute concert in 2009, and there was this young lady who was attending Clemson at the time, studying nutrition, I believe. And at this tribute concert, he and this young lady named Emily met. And it was actually kismet. It was how it was supposed to be. Shortly thereafter, Emily met the family. The families met each other. They dated, they went on adventures, they had fun. And finally, in 2014, they decided to tie the knot. He was always this person, and there's so many things I learned about him. His love of all things World War I and World War II, and that was because of his grandfather storming the beaches of Normandy. And Tyler was the one that could get his grandpa to talk about it. He was always wanting to fix things for everybody. And he loved, like any World War II history. Saving Private Ryan was one of his favorite movies, and he loved all kinds of different music, and he loved playing the guitar and became very proficient, very good at it. And not just, oh, here's a song, but here's a song, here's an artist, here's what it might mean. So he kind of really delved into everything he did. He loved his brother and his sister. He loved his family. Loved his dogs, especially a dog named Bailey, who he grew up with. And Bailey was not the neatest dog to have around the house sometimes, is my understanding. And he was that one of those people that always wanted to make people laugh, make people happy. And he was also one of those people who was always there, be it family, be it friends. As his friends grew up and started having families, Tyler was the first guy at the hospital, without fail. When his mom needed help, Tyler was there to help her. Tyler was the person who gave. Tyler shouldered a lot of things. And in shouldering, sometimes it becomes a lot. But Tyler made it through it and made it well. As I'm talking about Tyler, I had the wonderful opportunity. His friend Jeremy Rose wrote a wonderful story about the friendship Tyler and he shared. And Jeremy, you have a lot know more about Tyler than I do. And if you would, please, would you come share that with us?
You guys are going to have to forgive me. I'm not a speaker. I get nervous. But yeah, Susan asked me to write some nice notes about Tyler, just some highlights. So I wrote a cliff note of 4 pages. So I'm not going to read it word for word. I'm going to skip and stutter and all that stuff because it's hard. You know, it's a part of my life, really. So I met Tyler when I was 16, which was 28 years ago. So almost 30 years I've known Tyler. And he came to my house one day. He wasn't my friend at the time, but who was driving was. And we sat there and talked for like an hour. Didn't see each other for months after that. Come to find out, we ran in similar circles, just on opposite ends of those circles. So every now and again, they'd come together at birthday parties, house parties, things like that. I'd run into them. Hit it off every time. Here was this kid, scrawny, lanky, goofy, Perfect for me, I mean, because that's who I was too. And I guess it was over the course of 4 years, on and off like that, and then I ended up working at Toys R Us, where I met my future wife. He also had a girlfriend working there at the time, and we all started hanging out, like all the Toys R Us crew, and it became weekly after that. I think he was working at Circuit City at the time, and I'd go up there and bother him at work because I nerded out on tech too, and so he would show me all the latest stuff before it got on the shelves, and we'd geek out, talking about tech, computer stuff. It was around that time Tyler introduced me to a game that almost ruined my life. It was Medal of Honor. It was a World War II game, and it was an online competitive game. And we ended up forming a group of people online and actually participating in the online gaming league around the world. And we became very good, and we became a good team, and we played that game so much that it ended up where we didn't even play the game, we just ended up talking about life while the game was running. He loved World War II, he was good, he did all of his patent moves, he pretended he was Audie Murphy, he went out there and took out the Axis. He did everything. He was awesome. He set up all of our strategies. He was good. But we became really close friends after that. It was more of a brotherhood after that. I don't think there was anything we didn't talk about at the time, but one thing I did notice about Tyler was that he always had a positive outlook when it came to others, but he took a lot of hits for himself. He wouldn't always open up. His positivity towards somebody would be a negative to him. He always felt burdened by things, more than he should have. But that's kind of a part of Tyler that I liked. Like you can see the love in other people. You can see when he wanted to help someone else, but he wouldn't accept that help willingly or easily if you offered the same to him. So after some time, he actually encouraged me, along with Whitney, to better my life, so to speak. I was working at a warehouse at the time, and you ever worked in a warehouse, you're not really happy. So he told me about his classes he was taking at Tri-County Tech, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I liked tech, I liked computers, so I was like, computer science, bam, there it is. And I joined, and I took some programming classes with him, and I fell in love with it. So the way I look at it is, Tyler actually boosted my career in the beginning. He put me on that path to make my life better, and he wanted to be a part of it too. After a few years of taking classes and stuff like that, I ended up getting a job at Foxfire, and I ended up getting Tyler hired on. He wasn't a programmer, it was a programming job, but I was able to convince them to have him on because he was smart, he was good, he knew how to do things, he was a good support person, he was a good tech. So they took him on. And that was probably the best years I've ever worked at any job in my life, because it was like working in the show The Office. It was continual laughter all the time, constant pranks all the time, and it just was fun. Like, he made it fun. And I got Holden here, he used to work there as well, so he kind of knows what Tyler's like to work with. I remember one time, it was his idea, and I think Brandon actually did it, but they took a screenshot of my screensaver, and they set that picture as the background image, and they hid all my icons. So when you go to double click an icon, nothing happened. And I was furious. I didn't know what was going on. I restarted, reinstalled, I did everything, and then finally they were laughing, and I knew what happened. Now, those are the types of pranks that Tyler liked to play. There was a few ups and down moments in our lives too, whether it be breakup, whether it be family issues, money issues. Nothing was off the table between us. We talked about everything. And one of the things that he always did talk about was his family. His stories of growing up were epic to him. All the things him and his brother fought about were actually epic to him. He wouldn't change a thing. You know, the wisdom upon what Danny gave him, he wouldn't change a thing. The love Susan gave him, he would never change a thing. And you can't compare that when he was talking about it. There's nothing that you can say or see that would light his eyes up more than his family. And he loved you guys so much, so much. So much so, I wanted to join, so I became a part of your family. I know Whitney and I did marry in 2004, so we've been married for 20 years. I think the only regret that I ever had is I didn't invite him to my wedding because I couldn't, because I had a 20-person limit, because we made it really small. A really small wedding, we didn't want a big thing. And unfortunately, my family and her family took all those spots up. That's one regret that I had, is I didn't make him my best man. Other than that, I think throughout our youth, the greatest memories I have is pretty much our friendship, the routine that we had, which was every weekend it would be a movie, and it was either bowling or pool, followed by Waffle House every weekend. And there's some funny stories that I left out in this that I could tell, but I don't want to be here for hours. One of the most funniest things that I've seen Tyler do, and I don't know if anybody's ever seen it, he called it the Charlie Brown dance. And I don't know, it wasn't Charlie Brown. He got it wrong, and nobody corrected him. It was really Snoopy's dance. You know, when Snoopy gets happy, his hands up, and he's dancing, shaking his legs. Do you ever see Tyler do that in a bar? It was hilarious. Everyone laughed. No one knew who he was, and they were like, look at this crazy guy. Buy him a drink. Another time, we were at Waffle House. We thought the situation was about to turn dire. We were sitting there, and we were sitting next to a group of drunk people, and this guy leans over to Tyler, and he doesn't look quite collected, let's say that. So when he leans over to Tyler, I'm thinking, uh-oh, we're about to go down. Reaches in his pocket, and Tyler starts to look like he's starting to panic, and the guy pulls out a candy bar and offers it to Tyler. And Tyler, with the biggest grin on his face, took that candy bar. And he was proud that he took that candy bar because he ate it on the ride home. Just little things like that, but it happened all the time. We've seen fights in IHOP that just we laughed and talked about. I mean, it was just, those were our weekly rituals. It was movies, bowling, pool, and then Waffle House, always. My wife was always with us too, so we were always a tripod. We went everywhere together. We did everything together. And then, as most of you know, life kind of takes over, and you start to work on your marriage, your career, your family. Just like a lot of us have, it kind of takes your time away from being that 20-year-old, right? So around 2008, well, actually around 2007, me and my wife found out we were going to have a son. We fought over names for a while. We ended up wanting to name him after my father, until one day Tyler mentioned Liam. And he gave us this big speech about what Liam meant, about, you know, of course, his proud heritage of Irishness. Everything was Irish to him, or Scottish. He loved all of it, but mostly Irish. And he was very proud of that name. And me and Whitney dismissed it at first. We were like, we don't know about Liam. I think it was after a couple weeks of just saying the name, we settled on it. So again, another impact into my life is my best friend named my son Liam. He gave him his name. And we kept my middle name and last name, of course, but it meant a lot. And when I told Tyler we're picking Liam, he almost fell on the floor. He had teary-eyed and everything because he was very proud to know that he did something with us, with our family. He made a mark. That was important for him. Ironically enough, on my son's very first birthday, which is June 12, 2009, that's the very same night he met Emily. He talked about that date. He was nervous. He made jokes, but that's what Tyler did to deal with nervous. He did jokes. When he was upset, he tried to make jokes. When he was nervous, he made jokes. When he was mad, he tried to make jokes. Because that's how he dealt with a lot of things, like a lot of us do. And I remember He left Liam's birthday party with a smile on his face. The next time I saw him, he still had that smile on his face because he really enjoyed his date. And he talked a lot about you. And it was a while, but we ended up meeting, and we can see why. He really did love you, Emily, a lot. Eventually, I had left Foxfire to pursue my career, to make it, more into the engineering of software, things like that. Tyler really stepped up at Foxfire and really took a lead role. He became one of their most important employees. He was great with customers. I like to akin him to another fellow Foxfire person who died last year named Trent. Very good with customers, had a great vocabulary, and was very good at managing situations. That was Tyler. As my family grew, our time kind of started splitting, obviously. Like I said, life grows. We kind of fell apart for a little while, not in a bad way, just no time to spend with each other. But we never stopped at least talking occasionally, on the phone or Facebook, things like that for a while. Just the hustle and bustle of life, just steamrolling forward. You don't really think about the time you don't spend with somebody. You always think about the time you do spend with somebody. And you always say to yourself, I haven't seen him in a while. And then you go, I need to call him up. I need to go hang out with him. And then you're like, I got this project due next week. Shit, what do I do? And so you kind of focus on that project. And then you miss that opportunity, that chance. I know after his father died, he was beaten up pretty bad emotionally. Everybody was. If you knew Danny and you didn't tear, I don't know how you couldn't. I mean, he was a lovely man. I know that also after Myrna, he was very upset about that too. So he's taken quite a few blows in his life. And even like Mike said, he shouldered a lot of things. He wouldn't show it, not to a group of people he wasn't really comfortable with, but he did cry sometimes. He did break down. He was human. Even under that skinny exterior, that little smile he made as he jiggled his head like a bobble band. Sometimes he held a lot of things deep down. He carried a lot more weight than he owned, that's for sure. And I know he loved his family more so than anything. There was nothing, I can't say it enough, that he wouldn't do to have his father speak to him one more time or confirm the choices he's made, things like that. And we hung out with Barrett quite a few nights too during those weeks. I remember that night at the bowling alley with Officer Sam. That'll go down in history. Not gonna go into details about that one though. So again, once Tyler and Emily had gotten married and they moved up north, we became more of a once, maybe twice a year kind of a relationship is what it was. We talked every now and again. I do know that when Emily had gotten sick, he was distraught. And he didn't know what to do. He was like, this is happening to me again, is kind of how he put it. And I couldn't be there for him, and so it kind of hurt, but he would always tell me things are fine. Don't worry, JT, things are fine. And I knew kind of in my heart they were, because he was taking good care of his kids. He was taking good care of his wife. He was making the right decisions any man of dignity would make. I'm starting to break down, guys, sorry. But over the course of my life, I can't think of one friend that impacted me more. Someone that loved music like I did, a lot of the same music I did. We could hold conversations about who was the greatest guitarist, or who influenced music the most, or what kind of tech was the best, or anything. Sports, we loved watching sports together. Even though I wasn't a Notre Dame fan, he wasn't an LSU fan, we still rooted for each other. Unless we were ever to play each other, then we would be enemies that day. So a few things that I would like to end about Tyler. Anyone who knew him personally knew that Tyler, that boy could talk smack. He'd be a big boy if he needed to stand up for someone he loved, was in trouble, or if there was someone being bullied or anything like that. He'd talk a lot of smack. And a lot of times he could back it up. I think he would, but he never did because he was Tyler. He got out of it. He could be very dramatic at times, overly dramatic sometimes. There was one time he was at work. He came in, looked pale. We were like, "What's wrong with you, Tyler?" He's like, "I don't know, man. I think I'm dying." I was like, "What?" He's like, "I think I'm having a heart attack." I'm like, "Well, go to the hospital." And that's what he did. He left work, went to the hospital. It turned out he had gas, really bad. Those are Tylerisms that we called them. You know, he was a joker and all this stuff, but whenever he took things really serious, sometimes most of us didn't look at it like it was serious. But little things like that little heart attack gas situation, he did it a few times. There was a couple times where he thought he was dying, and he'd go to the hospital, and it wasn't really that bad. He was very well read, and like Mike said, knew a lot about World War I, II, any war really. He was just a big military buff. He loved the country. He was very proud to be a part of this country, especially when it came to the military, patriotism, Constitution, things like that. He took those things very seriously. He would joke here and there, but most of the time you could tell it was kind of a part of his foundation. If it was good to be in the military, it was good for him. If he could do something nice, it would probably be for the military men, the veterans, things like that. He cared a lot about that stuff. He definitely loved his kids a lot. I remember when Rory was born, he gushed over her. And she was so beautiful in the pictures that he was sending us, and the things that he was talking about, the hopes and stuff that he could do, and how she would grow up, and what she would be, and how he just wanted to embed in her, just be a good person. That's all he wanted to do, is I hope my kids turn out to be good. I'm gonna do my best. And that's what he always said. And he loved you very much, Rory. Same with Kieran. He did keep most of his life private. You know, he always said things were fine. So he didn't really indulge much. We always just did our normal bro conversation of what's going on in your life, what tech are you doing, what are you doing at work, things like that. How's the wife, how's the kids? And so the last time I did talk to him, he did say everything was fine. And I'm a little upset that he didn't indulge in me in some of the problems that he was having emotionally, dealing with. But I understood it because I'm the same way. You know, I'll carry my burdens. I'm going to miss him. I already do. Unfortunately, I'll never get to tell him how much I loved him. And I'll never get to see his face, his smile, or hear his laugh. But that's not something I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on what I lost. I'd rather focus on the impact he had. I'd rather focus on the positive messages he gave me when I was down. And I'd like to focus on how great of a person he really was. And so after today, I hope never cry about Tyler. I hope after today, all I can do is smile when I think of him. And that's all any one of us can ever do for another person, is when they think of us, we make them smile. So I love Tyler. I love the Kellys. Love Emily and her family and everyone who came today. Thank you for sharing your love for Tyler. Thank you very much.
Good job.
If I ever leave this world alive, I'll thank you for the things you did in my life. If I ever leave this world alive, I'll come back down and sit beside your feet tonight. Wherever I am, you'll always be more than just a memory. If I ever leave this world alive, if I ever leave this world alive, I'll take on all the sadness that I left behind. If I ever leave this world alive, the madness that you feel will soon subside. So in a word, don't shed a tear. I'll be here when it all gets weird. If I ever leave this world alive. So when in doubt, just call my name. Just before you go insane. If I ever leave this world, hey, I may never leave this world. But if I ever leave this world alive, she says, I'm okay. I'm alright, though you have gone from my life. You said that it would, now everything should be alright. She says, I'm okay, I'm alright, though you have gone from my life. You said that it would, now everything should be alright. Yeah, should be alright.
I would be remiss if I did not tell a dad joke for Tyler. Rory, who just had to take a technical timeout, shared this with me the other day. And it was on a Father's Day weekend. 99 WWMR 99.3, I believe, is a radio station. And they had a call in, and there were people sharing dad jokes for Father's Day. Well, there was a favorite, and little Rory remembers this, and the joke goes something like this. There were two cowboys out in the desert. They'd been out for days and days, and they were lost, and it was dry, and maybe they were hallucinating, seeing mirages, maybe not. But they came upon a woods. It looked like a woods. And as they got closer and closer, the one cowboy looks over at his buddy and says, "Hey, partner, I think that's a bacon tree I see over there." And they ran to the bacon tree, and the closer they got, all of a sudden, they were attacked by a barrage of gunfire. And the one cowboy says, "Hey, buddy, you better duck. I think it's a ambush." Tyler did that on the radio for all the world to hear, and he saved his show. And he always wanted to leave y'all with a laugh. That said, left behind are all of you. Tyler's ambassadors, his representatives. You're the representatives of Tyler's legacy. So as Tyler was, you all need to be an amazing and heartfelt person. Find the love and the laughter in life, and do your very best in all your endeavors. Watch out for those who cannot stand up for themselves, and be completely invested in your family, in your life. Go in peace and go Irish.